Hello, my name is Kevin and welcome to the Love Decanters channel. So today I'm going to be showing you some Stuart Crystal decanters with faux neck rings. By faux, I mean they're not real neck rings that have been applied, they're just pressed out from the inside as part of the mould. So yeah, I have shown you them briefly in a previous video where I was just talking about faux neck rings in general, where there's like lots of different kinds. But I'm going to go through these individually, partly because I'm going to sell some of them. I need to make space, you know, too much stuff. I think I've said this already. So yeah, anyway, so I thought let's show you them all, show you what's in the catalogues and the factory drawings that I've got, so that that'll help you learn a bit about how to figure it out for yourself too. And yeah, and I've got one that I'm unsure of, so I'll show you that one too, because it looks and smells like a Stuart Crystal one, but it's got a mark I don't recognise, and maybe someone can help me with that. Yeah, so with that said, let's get on and have a look at some glass. This decanter is the pattern called Glencoe. It's a bit soft looking at this and this light, but if I get it close up, you'll be able to see that it's kind of like got these diamonds with stars in, and then this rather flat tick upwards here, and that's it. It's got star cut base. You've got these little panels here, and yeah, it's got two fake neck rings. You can see if I put my finger in, goes inside it. So, and you've got a radially cut stopper, which is like a old, and this is kind of, let me grab this decanter, I got one out especially. So this is a sort of like 1820s 30s decanter, and that's the kind of thing it's copying. You can see the shape is kind of roughly similarish. You've got some panels cut here, neck rings, similar stopper, but yeah, this is 150 years older than that. So, but anyway, it gives you an idea of where they're coming from with this design. All the catalogues I'm going to show you here have been downloaded from the Facebook group Stuart Crystal Collectors. So yeah, so if you want your copy, go into the files section of that group. So this is the pattern, Glencoe 30418, and this is the 1972 catalogue, I should say. And here it is, the whole pattern laid out, and you can see this is the decanter we were looking at. Now this doesn't give you a date. We know it's 1972. I've got the 1964 catalogue and it's not in there. And also it's things like, I know the 1938 catalogue, the highest number in that is like 28,400 something. So there's like a 2,000 gap there. And then the post-war factory pictures, I've got the lowest number then is something like 291 something. So it's, you know, it's a 291 is about 1,300 after that. So anyway, if we go, I think it's this one. Yeah, I've got, looking at the factories, I've scrolled all the way down. You can see how far way down that is here on the right. My problem is you only get just this. Yeah, so 30418, and you just get a glass, and that's your lot. Not so happy about that, but it is what it is. We're looking at an Arundel pattern decanter. Has this distinctive chevron wheat husk pattern that you sometimes saw on early Irish glass. Panel cutting here, a couple of rings, and then panel cut shoulder, and then two faux neck rings. And yeah, and the neck rings have little panels cut between them. So this is kind of mimicking something from the sort of like 1930s really, and the stopper's the usual radial cut stopper. It is marked underneath. It's really difficult. It's got quite a lot of wear on it. It just says Stuart, and the T has got an uptick on it, which means it's that mark was only used up until 1926. So yeah, and it does appear in the 1927 catalogue. So let's go and have a look at that. This is the 1927 catalogue, and this is Arundel here. The patent number is 21102, because they weren't using, I think they used some patent names at this point, but not many. And this one they didn't. It actually appears twice in this catalogue. If you go here, it reappears here as just as a service. I don't know why. Same number. I did talk about the mark. This is, which one is it? It's this one here. Introduced in 1926. I thought it was from, because it was after this one. But anyway, it looks like this one with the uptick. Can you see? Uptick there, and then no uptick after, from 1950. So it's a earlier one. It's got a lot of wear on the base, so it's probably a pre-war one. And if I go here, this is interesting. It's still there in the 1972 catalogue. So we've got it in the 1927 catalogue and in the 1972 catalogue. If I scroll down, and you can see the decanter hasn't changed shape. So yeah, that's, how many years is that? That's 45 years. It stayed exactly the same. This is a Woodchester pattern decanter. The stopper on this one is a bit more radical away from the others in that it's got a flat top with the radial cutting. If I track back like the last one we were looking at. Yeah, you can see this one's like a domed, more like the original. This is like the original style from this time, and this is like more of an interpretation. And still got the little panels there, little panels cut there and there. And yeah, it's got this fern mark, this was designed by Ludwig Knai in the 1930s, this pattern. Yeah, and I think this one's marked Stuart, England, yeah, somewhere. And I'm not going to show you the catalogues for this one because I have done a whole film on the Stuart Crystal Woodchester pattern, and you can go and look at that if you're excited by it, because there's like I've got piles of glass to go with this. This decanter's, I think it's a rare one. It's not in any of the catalogues. It's only in the factory drawings. It's a patent number 29561. I think that makes it made in the late 50s, early 60s, sometime in that kind of period. I've never seen another one, so yeah, I think that makes it rare in my book. It's got this blaze on it. It's a bit like another pattern called Medley, but on the Medley one, the blaze is more underneath than on top, and also these are kind of offset a little bit. And it's also got this interesting moulded base. You've got polished pontil there in the middle. That is polished, but then you've got this. So they must have blown it into the mould for this shape, and I think it's the same shape as the Woodchester one we were looking at. And then after they've pulled it out, they've pressed it onto this mould, put that on, and then done this and create this polished pontil in the middle. So it's a bit like some of the Irish decanters in a way, although on those the moulding goes up the sides. But yeah, interesting decanter. I quite like it. It stands away from the crowd of the others with the crisscross patterns. This is very bold. This pattern here, when you do this, if I do this, doesn't it look good? Yeah. made to be spun. And this is what I mean about some of the others are a bit boring. This one is not. It catches your eye more, and very bold statement as far as the cutting goes. Just that. This is the factory drawing I was telling you about. This is the decanter in the factory drawing, 29561. Yeah, this could be a service, but you only get the decanter. And honestly, if there was a glass, I'd probably find it very hard to find it. Now, the other pattern I mentioned that it's like is this one here. It's called Medley. And you can see it's got this blaze, but then it's got longer and shorter bits. I think they're offset, so I'm not sure they're actually shorter. And the decanter is the same shape, but I've seen the decanter in replacements.com, and the blaze is more underneath as opposed to being on top. So yeah, so this is a catalogue pattern, but the one that we were looking at is not. So I have this unmarked, unknown pattern decanter. This kind of cross-cut pattern like this. They used this a lot in pre-war, so it might be a pre-war one. There's no mark on it. How can I be certain it's Stuart Crystal? Is because I have a Woodchester version, and you can see clearly these were blown in the same mould. Let's see how tiny they are there. You know, you get about one big glass of wine out of one of those, and that's your lot. So yeah, it's about a third or a quarter of a bottle of wine. But yeah, they're quite nice. But yeah, this one, if anybody knows what this pattern is, please let me know. So this is the last one we're looking at, and this is the one I'm unsure of. It's marked underneath with just the letter S, with a little tick on each side of it. I think it's Stuart. I've seen it use something. I think it's related to a particular factory. I can't remember. I've been looking all over, trying to find out where I found that. I think someone might have mentioned it in Facebook somewhere, so I've looked all over. Anyway, so this one's got 3 rings. Now, all the others we looked at only had 2. But when you go through the factory books, there are decanters this shape with 3 rings like this. So it's got the standard radial cut. The pattern is something like the Glencoe or Argyle or something like that. It's a bit like those ones, but not quite the same. And yeah, it's foxed me. I've been through the factory books. The problem with the factory drawings is that, one, the quality's not great because they were produced on a Gestetner machine and then photocopied. So a Gestetner machine is like a kind of a static electricity photocopying machine. So you weren't actually, it's not like a modern electric thing. It's something that they would use in the 70s and 80s. I've seen them in use, and you have to crank them with a handle and everything, so it's not like anything you'd imagine. It's some real steampunk way of doing photocopying. And so yeah, and also the factory drawings just have one piece, so if it's just a glass, it would be very difficult to make out this pattern, because as I said, it's a very simple one. And it has that problem that you get with, as I said, about the problem with cut glass, where there's lots of very, very similar patterns. I've also been through replacements.com as well. No luck there, which kind of makes me think maybe it's earlier, maybe it's from the 50s, pre-war, because they were doing this shape pre-war as well. So yeah, I've really struggled with it. So I'm open to suggestions on this one as well. If anybody can tell me what that S means, I think it might be factory related. But anyway, So that is the last one we're going to be looking at. So there you have it. So apologies for going super nerdy. I am going to be selling some of these off, which is why I'm trying to do this now. To, you know, I've shown them. People can look them up if they want to go through my videos and go through the Stuart Crystal section and see these ones. That's the plan. Yeah, I don't think I really approve of this, you know, way of making the neck rings. In a way it's a kind of skillless way, because they're blowing the decanters into a mold anyway. They blow it in and spin it, and all they do is they change the shape of the mold, and you've got rings. Whereas previously you needed a certain amount of skill to actually add the rings manually. Just my own thoughts on that. But the one where I don't have it's not in the catalogues, I quite like that one out of all of them. The wood chest, I've got to like it, because that's my specials for when we have a big well, Christmas dinners and all that. That's the decanters and stuff we bring out. So yeah, but the rest of it is kind of like I'll pick them up here and there as I've gone along. But anyway, there will be more videos on Stuart Crystal decanters, I'm afraid. Yeah, and so please watch for another exciting episode of Stuart Crystal decanters. And yeah, so I'll give you a link to the Stuart Crystal Collectors Facebook group, and please remember to like and subscribe, because it does help my channel. And I think that's it. So have a good night. Good night.